The first thing I heard was the steady beep of a heart monitor. Beep. 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 I opened my eyes slowly, staring at a white ceiling blurred by the harsh hospital lights. My throat felt dry, my body heavy, and for a few seconds, I couldn't remember where I was. Then someone grabbed my hand. "Oh my God, you're awake." I turned my head. It was Emily, my girlfriend's younger sister. Her eyes were red from crying, but she was smiling through the tears. "I was so worried about you," she whispered. I stared at her, confused. "Emily, what happened?" She squeezed my hand tighter. "You were in an accident." The last thing I remembered suddenly came rushing back. Rain. Headlights. A truck swerving across the road. The deafening sound of metal crushing. Then darkness. I tried to sit up, but Emily immediately pushed my shoulder down. "Don't. The doctor said you need to rest." "Where's Sarah?" I asked. Sarah was my girlfriend. The first person I expected to see beside my hospital bed. Emily's smile disappeared. "She was here." "Was?" "She left a few hours ago." Something about her voice made my stomach tighten. "Why?" Emily looked down at our hands before slowly letting go. She blamed herself. I frowned. "For what?" "She was the one who called you that night. You were driving because you were coming to meet her." I remembered. Sarah and I had argued earlier that evening. She had called me afterward, crying, asking me to come over so we could talk. But I never made it. Emily swallowed hard. "She thinks if she hadn't called you, you wouldn't have been on that road." I closed my eyes. "Where is she now?" "At home." "Can you call her?" Emily hesitated. "Please." She pulled out her phone and stepped toward the window. After a moment, she returned. "She isn't answering." I stared at the ceiling. For some reason, Sarah's silence hurt more than my broken ribs. Then Emily sat beside me again. "You know," she said quietly, "when they brought you in, the doctors weren't sure you'd wake up." I looked at her. She wiped away another tear. "I stayed here all night." "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." Her voice cracked. "Your family." Those words stayed with me. Sarah's sister had always been kind to me, but we'd never been particularly close. Yet while everyone else had gone home, she had stayed beside my bed. "Emily," I whispered, "thank you." She smiled faintly. "Just promise me you'll stop scaring everyone." I almost laughed, but the pain in my chest stopped me. Then the hospital room door opened. Sarah stood there. Her face was pale. Her hair was messy, and tears were streaming down her cheeks. Our eyes met. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she walked toward me. "I thought I lost you," she whispered. I reached out my hand. She grabbed it and broke down. "I'm sorry," she cried. "I'm so sorry." I squeezed her fingers. "You're here now." She leaned forward and rested her forehead against my hand. Behind her, Emily quietly stepped away. But before leaving, she looked back at me. There was something in her expression I couldn't understand. Something almost like fear. Later that night, after Sarah had fallen asleep in the chair beside my bed, I asked Emily to come back. "There's something I need to ask you." She froze. "What?" I looked directly into her eyes. "Why were you really so worried about me?" Her face went completely still. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she whispered, "Because before the accident, I knew something was going to happen." My heart began pounding. "What do you mean?" Emily looked toward the sleeping Sarah. Then she quietly closed the hospital door. "I found something in Sarah's car." My blood ran cold. What did you find? Emily reached into her jacket pocket and placed a folded piece of paper on my hospital blanket. I think you need to read this before you trust anyone again. My hands trembled as I stared at the folded paper. For several seconds, I couldn't bring myself to open it. Emily stood beside the hospital bed, watching me carefully. Where did you find this? I whispered. In Sarah's car, she said. Under the driver's seat. I unfolded the paper. There were only a few words written on it. He cannot know the truth. If he finds out, everything is over. My stomach dropped. Who wrote this? I don't know. Did Sarah write it? Emily shook her head. I've seen Sarah's handwriting my whole life. This isn't hers. I looked toward Sarah, still sleeping in the chair. For the first time since waking up, I felt afraid of the woman I loved. What else did you find? Emily hesitated. A second note. She pulled another folded piece of paper from her pocket. This one had a date written across the top. The date was 3 days before my accident. Underneath it were directions to the exact road where my crash happened. I stared at the words. That can't be a coincidence. I know. A cold silence filled the room. Then Sarah suddenly moved. Emily quickly slipped the papers into her jacket. Sarah opened her eyes. What's happening? Nothing, I said. She looked between us. Why did you both look so nervous? Emily smiled. You should get some rest, Sarah. Sarah frowned. After Emily left, Sarah came closer to my bed. Did she tell you something? I studied her face. Why? Because Emily has been acting strange all night. I almost told her about the notes. Instead, I asked, Sarah, did you know someone was following me before the accident? Her face changed instantly. Only for a second. But I noticed. What makes you ask that? Just answer me. She looked down. No, I knew she was lying. And she knew I knew. Suddenly, my phone vibrated on the bedside table. Sarah reached for it. Don't, I said. She stopped. The screen showed an unknown number. A message appeared. Stop asking questions. Sarah's face went white. You need to leave, she whispered. What? Get out of this hospital. I stared at her. Why? She looked toward the door. Because the person who caused your accident knows you're alive. Before I could respond, the lights in the hallway suddenly went out. The heart monitor beside me continued beeping. Then the hospital door slowly opened. A man in a dark jacket stood outside. He wasn't wearing a doctor's coat. He looked directly at me. Sarah grabbed my hand. Don't look at him. But it was too late. The man turned and disappeared down the hallway. Emily came running back into the room. What happened? Sarah whispered, he knows. Emily's expression changed. Who? Sarah looked at her sister. The man who was watching him. Emily stared at Sarah. You knew? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I tried to protect him. Emily stepped closer. By keeping secrets? Sarah didn't answer. I felt my heart pounding. Both of you, I said, tell me everything. Emily looked at Sarah. Sarah finally nodded. Then she whispered the words that changed everything. The accident wasn't an accident. The room became silent. I stared at her. Then what was it? Sarah reached for my hand. You were supposed to die that night. My breath caught. Why? She began crying. Because you found out about the money. What money? Emily suddenly interrupted. Sarah, stop. Sarah shook her head. No. He deserves to know. She looked at me through tears. Your father didn't lose his company the way everyone told you. I froze. My father? Sarah nodded. Someone stole it. My mind raced. My father had died years earlier believing his business had collapsed because of bad investments. But Sarah's next words made my entire body go cold. The person who stole everything from him, she paused. Is someone you trust? Before I could ask who, the hospital monitor suddenly screamed. The door slammed open. And the same man from the hallway stepped inside. This time, he wasn't alone. The second man stepped into the hospital room, and everything inside me went cold. Sarah grabbed my hand. Emily moved between us and the strangers. Who are you? She demanded. The taller man reached into his jacket. My heart jumped. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out an identification badge. I'm Detective Miller, he said. The man beside me is Detective Harris. Sarah stared at them in disbelief. Why are you here? Detective Miller looked at me. Because someone tried to kill you. The words hung in the room. I looked at Sarah. She lowered her eyes. So it's true, I whispered. Detective Harris closed the door behind him. We've been investigating the crash since the night it happened. The truck that hit you was stolen. Its plates were fake, and the driver abandoned it less than 2 miles away. Did you catch him? Not yet. Detective Miller reached into his folder. But we found something. He placed several photographs on my blanket. The first showed the truck. The second showed a security camera outside a gas station. The third showed a man standing beside my car hours before the accident. I stared at the photograph. I recognized him. My mouth went dry. No, Sarah touched my shoulder. Who is it? I couldn't answer. Emily looked at the picture. Her face immediately changed. It can't be him. Detective Miller watched us carefully. You know him? I nodded slowly. That's my father's former business partner. The room fell silent. My father's company had collapsed 7 years earlier. His business partner, Richard Cole, had publicly claimed he had done everything possible to save it. I had believed him. Apparently, I had been wrong. Detective Harris opened another file. Your father wasn't bankrupt. I looked at him. What? He had discovered millions of dollars missing from the company's accounts. He was preparing to expose the theft when he suddenly died. My chest tightened. You're saying my father's death wasn't natural? We're not ready to call it murder, Detective Miller said. But we found evidence that someone wanted him silent. Sarah started crying. I told him he shouldn't investigate. I turned toward her. You knew? She nodded. Richard contacted me months ago. He threatened my family. He said if I helped you uncover the truth, you'd end up like your father. My anger disappeared. All I could see was the fear in her eyes. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I was terrified. Emily stepped forward. She told me everything the day before your accident. I looked at her. That's why you were so worried? Emily nodded. She called me after Richard threatened her. I knew something terrible was coming. Detective Miller suddenly received a call. His expression changed. We have a problem. He walked toward the window. After a few seconds, he turned back. Richard knows you're alive. My stomach dropped. How? Detective Miller looked at the hospital security monitor. Someone accessed your medical records 10 minutes ago. The room became silent. Can you find them? I asked. We're trying. Then the lights flickered. Once. Twice. and went out. Sarah screamed. Emily grabbed my arm. The heart monitor suddenly stopped. For one terrifying second, there was complete silence. Then the emergency lights came on. Detective Harris rushed toward the hallway. "Stay here." We heard footsteps running outside. Then a crash. A security guard shouted. Detective Miller disappeared through the door. I looked at Sarah. She was shaking. "Stay with me," she whispered. Then Emily noticed something beneath my hospital bed. A small black device. She picked it up carefully. "What is that?" Detective Miller returned seconds later. His face was pale. "Everyone stay back." He examined the device. "This is a tracking transmitter." I stared at it. "They've been tracking me?" "Since before the accident." Sarah covered her mouth. Then my phone vibrated again. Another unknown message. I opened it. "You have one chance to stop digging." A second message arrived immediately. "Ask your girlfriend what happened the night your father died." I slowly raised my eyes toward Sarah. She was crying. Sarah, she couldn't look at me. "What happened that night?" She finally whispered, "I was there." My heart stopped. She looked at me through tears. "And I saw who killed him."